How you doing? After finishing Hail to the King, I wanted to see how far I could push myself not only creatively, but I wanted to see how big of a project I could deliver. And after sending it off to a few different friends, I found out that two of my friends, Donnie and Dan, had their own production company called Caleb Wayne. And together, through all of our combined forces, we were able to finish a passion project. Now, this pre-production was much different than Hail to the Kings. Starting off, the script had already been penned from beforehand. It started off as something of my father reaching out to me and saying, "Dog, I want you to tell the world about some of the stories I'll be telling you and your siblings." I looked at him, I said, okay, maybe. At the time, I had no facilities of which to move forward with that. And then later on down the line, one of my real good friends from high school, Jerron, if you're watching this, buddy, just know I love you. Appreciate all the input over the years. He sent me a home invasion story, and when I read the script, I just thought to myself, wow, this is so good, but I don't know if I have the facilities to be able to deliver this. So I put that on the back burner alongside my father's story, put that on the back burner as well. And when I started to get the urge to write over and over and over again following Hail to the King, I kept writing this, not buddy cop, but this two-person invasion story, home invasion story, somewhat like Pulp Fiction with John Travolta and Samuel Jackson walking into a house looking for a briefcase. Something like that. I just kept writing it over and over. And once I finished it, it just all spawned the idea of, what if we just told the entire story out of order and we put all three of these different stories together and make them into one in like an anthology type base and make it all with one guiding through line. That's how the script came up in the first place. And after sending it to Donnie and Dan, we were able to proof it down to the point where it was something that was attainable for us. Not only attainable, but something that we all were extremely passionate about. And this brings us to what the biggest difference between Hail to the King's pre-production and this pre-production was. On No Good Deed, this was the first time ever that I got to work with paid actors. Donnie gave the idea, since he was very used to working with Backstage.com, that we put out a listing there for our feature. That way we can get actors to audition. And at first it was extremely overwhelming. I think we had around 1,000 applicants, and it got to the point where it was overwhelming and tedious to go through each and every single profile. And once it got to the point that we started to have auditions, it was definitely fun. There were a lot of folks that didn't fit exactly what we were looking for. I remember a few gals had like a Disneyland princess's accent on while doing it. I was flabbergasted the entire time. And other folks fit exactly what we were looking for, but making the final decision moving forward was one of the hardest things. But once we were able to narrow everything down, we knew that we had the three actors that we wanted to move forward with on this project. And this leads us to the production of No Good Deed. We decided to split the entire shoot into 4 days stretched across an entire month. This way it would give us the most amount of time to be able to go over any minute details that we could possibly miss out on and know exactly what it is that we would like to do. The first day was shot at my parents' house, shooting the entire interlude with my father. Now, although as seen in these clips right here, he could not take a damn thing serious, it was extremely fun, and the first day went without a single hiccup outside of, a few screw-ups by me, but you get better as the days prolong. Day 2 of the shoots took place the following week at a house that we rented out. We had it from 12 to 6, and that was to shoot the entirety of Act 1. Now granted, we were running a little bit behind schedule that entire day, given the fact that one of our actors had to go way off site to get her makeup done for prosthetics. It was the eye prosthetic. It took a little bit of time. So during all the downtime that we did have, I was there with our child actor and his parent. This was the first time that I had ever worked with a child actor, and when I tell you, it was something that I was scared of beforehand, because I did not know how much to coach them, or even which direction to push them in. But he was such a natural that it was a great time for all of us. I spent all the time that we had, all the downtime, talking to both of them, letting them know where the ideas came from and how to properly display what exactly I'm looking for. Once both our actors got in, we were able to smoothly push through it. Act 1 went off without a hitch. The only issue being I spent the entire shoot in the closet, shooting from the closet, because we had such a great directorial idea to shoot it from the boy's perspective. And if you look at these clips, you can clear as day see I'm struggling for my life in that closet. Thank the Lord I am not claustrophobic. Day 3 took place the week after the Act 1 shoot. This is the first day that we started to run into a few issues. So for starters, the place that we shot at was the same place that we shot Hail to the King. So for starters, booking was extremely expensive, especially for only 4 hours of working. It was extremely expensive to book. And since it was a location that we had already shot in before, we already scouted it, we knew all of the issues that could possibly arise, and we knew exactly how to counter these issues, such as from Hail to the King, you seeing every fucking thing in the reflections of the mirror, from our cinematographer to light setups to all other type of fun things. But that wasn't the hiccup that we ran into. One of the hiccups that we ran into is one of the actors that I hired for a very small role, one of my close friends. He had to show up late that day. So we only really had 2 hours, maybe an hour or so of actually working with him before our time ran up, and we were able to finish the end of the Act 3 shoot. Now, I will say, we were able to get a lot of our dialogue off in the first half of it so easily, so fluid. I feel as though I hired some perfect actors for this. Shout out Jalen, by the way. He was amazing. We had to shoot so much, and our dialogue just flew back and forth, back and forth. That was done in more or less one take. It was just a few of the ideas that we had towards the end was a little bit rushed, so it did feel slightly choppy towards the end, and it's not my favorite result, but it was something that we could definitely still live with. On a side note though, when we first got to the spot, I was so pissed. It was some folks in there loitering, and when we walked in, they looked at us and said, "Oh, do y'all live here?" It took everything in me not to cuss that person out right then and there. But me being me, trying to stay as cool, calm, and collected as possibly can, told them to get the fuck out so we could shoot. Just know, before we reached the last day of the actual shoot, the first 3 shoot days were all within 3 weeks of each other. Back to back to back to back, all supposed to be shot in 1 month. The last shoot day, day 4, which was Act 2, did not get shot into November. And one of the reasons for that is the actress that we initially hired for Janine had to drop out due to health concerns, which we still do wish her the best, and we hope that everything is now going well with her. And our Malcolm actor had to drop out due to the scheduling conflicts that we kept having to have of pushing it back further and further. So it got to the point where I just had to tell Donnie, reopen the call. We have to find a new Malcolm. We have to find a new Janine. But the thing is, I don't feel like looking at auditions anymore. So please, for the love of God, just handle it. And handle it he did. After some time, we were able to find 2 amazing actors, and as you can see on the tape, they performed to the best of their ability, and it was amazing. That is the first thing that I do want to say. Day 4 of the shoot went off perfect. It was about as good as a day that you could possibly ask for. This was the entire crutch of the story that I felt as though was the strongest beat, and while watching, you could tell. Outside of a few missteps from myself as a director, which I have to call that out, especially moving forward to get better from. Outside of a few of those missteps, everything went off without a hitch. Everyone was locked in. Everybody was zoned into their game. It was some of the best acting that we had so far. It was some of the best cinematography that we've had so far. And it was definitely some of the best directing that we had thus far. There was a lot of moving parts, a lot of different pieces, a lot of improvisational needs that we had, especially with the way that the house was that we rented for that day. A few ideas had to change, but we were able to keep it pushing and keep moving forward. And now this leads us into post-production. We treated post-production on No Good Deed about the same as we treated it with Hail to the King. We outsourced everything to Fiverr. for the most part. The actual assembly edit and the sound design was done by one of my really good high school friends, Johnny, which you may know better from No Lab Coat Required. Please go watch right now. Go learn something, motherfucker. He was able to help us, and one of the issues that we faced there is that it took such a long time since the files that I kept sending him, and some of the asks that I had was so damn long. And we shot everything in true 4K, true 24 frames per second too, so it's like them files were big as fuck. I was being anal in a lot of places, especially with how we wanted the actual story to play out. There were a few missteps that I had that we had to correct in post, so it was a lot going on there. Some of the other things that we did incur expenses from were color grading, which we outsourced to Fiverr, getting a score custom made for No Good Deed. That ran a pretty penny and was a very fun experience. We had to get a poster made, which fucking gorgeous. After the poster being made, one trailer, one TikTok, just because why not? Let's have fun. We had those two things done for it, and I think that was about the extent of all things that we had done on Fiverr for No Good Deed. And for those who care, I can list off some of the gear that we used for this shoot. For starters, the primary and only camera being used was right here, the Sony FX30, which upgrading from my A7C earlier in the year, it really made me very sad, but this FX30 has been a beast. We used some Siriu anamorphic lenses, I think 24 and 50 millimeters were the ones that were being used. Had a couple of wireless 7Ms mics, which led to a few issues. On the day of the Act 2 shoot, my dumbass forgot the lav mics, so we had to work around and improv that entire way. A few ring lights, a few newer lights. Yeah, that's about the extent of the toys that we had. Very bare bones, but we like to keep it extremely bare bones, run and gun, and I think you're able to see that for better and for worse in a lot of our projects. And finally, the conclusion. All in all, we spent around roughly $3,400, and a lot of those expenses included, but certainly are not limited to, actual location booking, which is expensive as fuck, extremely tedious too. Actors, worth every single penny. All the things that we bought for Fiverr for post-production, alongside editing, food for your crew, an actual crew, alongside some gear needs, prop needs, and miscellaneous things on top of that. We spent around $3,400 to shoot a 32-minute movie off of a 42-ish page script. The biggest thing that came away from No Good Deed was basically letting us know that we have the ability to craft a film that can make people feel things. My grandmother, as she watched it, almost made me cry, letting me know what she thought about No Good Deed. And it becomes even more touching to us knowing that we made this specifically for our families. We made this specifically for the people closest to us, for them to know that these cycles of change, these cycles of toxic masculinity within men, within ourselves, within our communities, these are things that need to be broken, and these are things that, while in different communities, in different movies, they may be glorified, they are not things that we want to pursue with our lives. We have to break these cycles to be better people to not only the ones that we love, but also to the next generation. That is the biggest thing that came out of this. And now that we know what we're capable of, we just look forward to keep growing bigger and better. For anyone who actually sat down and watched this entire video, I want to let you know your voice deserves to be heard. Every single idea that you could possibly put on pen to page and you can execute on. If there's a movie that you want to make, you can make it. All you need is a little bit of audacity, some camera to film, an idea, and the motivation to go make it work. Thank you for watching the entire video. I do want to let you know that things have been a little quiet on the Western Front because after we finished No Good Deed, I started to write my own things. And one of the things that I wrote was No More Heroes, a screenplay that was bigger than anything else that I've ever done before, around 110 pages. yeah, I submitted that to a screenplay competition, and right now I'm just awaiting to hear results. Hopefully, it's something that we want to hear, but if not, we can always keep moving forward. But if you did stick around this long, just know you could click on this video right here to actually watch No Good Deed if you just spent all this time listening about it. Another video right here, which you'll probably like. And right here, if you click my face, you get to subscribe to the channel. Thanks.